Welcome in, Buckeye Nation. Ohio State just beat the Wisconsin Badgers 38-7. How are we feeling? Whew, I was feeling a little bit worried there at the beginning. Scoreless first quarter in the rain. My prediction the other day, you may have seen 41-14. And I was feeling a little bit worried early on, but I gotta say, I gotta just stick with the Buckeyes, man. Stick with Ryan Day. He knows what he's doing. He's doing what he's doing for a reason. I'm not coaching football at that level for a reason. 38-7. How are you feeling, Buckeye Nation? We're live on Facebook and YouTube. I appreciate everybody in the comment section. Just myself going right now. Brian Sherman, Laura BP, John Ola, Scott Ewing, Corey Shoemaker, Kyle Barr, Timothy Roberts, David Hemphill. Appreciate you guys. How do you feel? If you're watching the game on Facebook, do me a favor and share this video into your favorite Buckeye groups. Normally I like to do that beforehand, but writing solo here, so help me out if you don't mind. I appreciate that. 38-7. I gotta say, early on, I didn't see this coming. After the first quarter, I was really tense. 0-0. Justin Fields attempted his first pass of the game with 15 seconds to go in the first quarter. I mean, we had 2 drives without Fields attempting a pass. I was really frustrated, really in the first half as a whole. 10-0. I mean, you'll take it. Obviously, our defense was absolutely fantastic today. The only time Wisconsin scored was because they got the ball at the 30 going in. Fantastic job by the defense. Buckeye defense played out of their minds today. Chase Young, I mean, good God. I wish I could sit here and say this number 2 jersey as a Chase Young jersey. It's not. But it is a J.K. Dobbins jersey, and I'm proud of that. I've got Dobbins on the back here. Big shout out to the boys wearing number 2 today for the Buckeyes. Chase Young had 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. The 5 tackles for loss and 4 sacks tie Ohio State football records all time for a single game. Is there any question in anybody's mind that Chase Young is the best player in college football? Because from what I saw in that game, there's no doubt. It's Chase Young. And then there's a big gap. And then there's some quarterbacks because all the quarterbacks always win the Heisman Trophy. If this is the year, I mean, if Chase Young doesn't win the Heisman Trophy this year, they got to fix something. I don't care if you got to make a new award that's the defensive Heisman Trophy, make it. Because Chase Young, right now, nobody's even talking about him in the Heisman conversation. And there's no question that he's the best player in college football. Hell, there's no question he's top 5 best players in college football. 5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, the 2 strip sacks. In Wisconsin, I don't know what they were doing. They kept lining up, whether it was just a single man, whether it was a tackle, or they even lined a tight end up on him. You imagine going one-on-one with Chase Young as a tight end? I don't know what they were thinking. Clearly, it didn't work. Going into this game, we talked a lot about make Jack Cohn beat us. Because Jonathan Taylor, we got a lot of respect for that man. A lot of respect for Jonathan Taylor. Make Jack Cohn beat you. He's not going to. We saw him last week against Illinois. We've seen him all year. He's only thrown 2 picks all year, but he's barely thrown the ball at all. He's not good enough. Make the quarterback beat you. And that's exactly what the Buckeyes did today. I don't know how many sacks we had. Chase Young had 4 by himself. I know a few other guys were in there as well. I don't have the stat sheet put up in front of myself right now like I should. I do have my phone going just to see the comments. Appreciate everybody in here. Eugene Crafter, Austin Merrill. He said Kansas State just won. Is there any doubt who's the best team in the country, folks? I mean, come on. It's getting outrageous. And maybe if you look at the first quarter of today's game, you might think, who is this team? Because the first quarter today, the Buckeyes, I was real uptight. I was real frustrated. Very conservative play calls. J.K. Dobbins was the only one making plays for the first quarter and a half. God love J.K. Dobbins, man. We came into this game, we were talking about him. All he's heard for 3 years is how good Jonathan Taylor is. How good Jonathan Taylor is. Best back in the country. Best back in the Big Ten by a long shot. J.K. Dobbins says, hey, hang on a second. He said this year in preseason, I feel like I'm the best back in the country. And my goal is to come out and prove it. Well, I'm pretty sure that 221 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns beats Jonathan Taylor's, 40-yard rushing day? Pretty impressive stuff by the true sophomore, or the true junior, pardon me. David Hemphill in here says Oklahoma just lost. Brian McGee, Laura BP, Jonathan Guerin. Tisha Smith in here says he is the best player in college football, deserves to be in the Heisman talk. Seriously, Mama, I agree with you 100%. Austin Merrill, man, there's a lot of comments in here. I appreciate you guys. If I don't get to you, I'm sorry. I miss you. Brian Schwelling. Carrie Lynn, of course. Appreciate you guys. Corey Shoemaker, Oklahoma upset. I tell you what, after this video, I'm really, really looking forward to scrolling through Twitter, seeing what college football has to say about Oklahoma going down. I mean, it looked like Kansas State, because I was following along, with the little ticker there as I was watching Ohio State beat down the Badgers. And Kansas State kept putting up points. I remember seeing it was 24-23 at halftime. Kansas State led Oklahoma, and I was like, hey, Oklahoma's in a little bit of a dogfight, maybe seeing a little adversity. Good for Kansas State. And they come out and put up, another 24 in the second half? They just ran all over Oklahoma's defense. I don't know if it was a trap game for them. I don't really care, because the Buckeyes are 8-0, and that's what's important to me. Jimmy Wolford in here says, I knew Young was going to try for a big game, but he even shocked my expectations. I'm going to have to go back to our show on Wednesday, because somebody's bold prediction was Chase Young 5 sacks. And we said, wow, that is a bold prediction. Chase Young ended up with 4 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. So I'm going to go back and I'll shout you out on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever we do the show this week on the bye week. But my word, I mean, can you imagine playing this? And one thing I do want to bring up, I don't know, let me know in the comments if you guys saw this. There was a point after Chase Young got his 4th sack, I believe, and his 2nd strip sack of the game, where Fox was cutting to commercial. It's one of those, they cut to commercial, they show a couple slow motion clips here or there of the game, and the first clip they showed is Chase Young lined up ready to rush the passer, and his eyes are so wide. I mean, it sent chills down my spine. I couldn't believe. I was like, oh my God. Can you imagine lining up against that man? Let me know in the comments if you saw that as well, because absolutely outrageous. I mean, just Chase Young, very clear. And Gus Johnson said so. And God love Gus Johnson. I absolutely adore Gus Johnson. He is who I aspire to be as a play-by-play man in sports media. Gus Johnson's fantastic. And he said it best. Is there any question that this man is the best player in college football? And there's not. And there's not. Gus said it himself. So take it to the bank if Gus Johnson says it. Boy, do I feel good right now. The bye week comes at a good time. A lot of guys got dinged up tonight. That's almost expected. Going up against Wisconsin, similar to a Michigan State type of game, you're going to have to grind it out, especially early. I mean, it was 0-0 coming into at the end of the first quarter. Buckeye defense, man. I got to give a ton of credit to J.K. Dobbins. I wasn't impressed with Justin Fields. I'll get to all of this stuff, but mad props to the Buckeye defense. They absolutely shut down Jonathan Taylor. Can somebody tell me in the comments what Jonathan Taylor's final numbers were, please? I believe he had about 16 carries and I think 38 yards, somewhere in that ballpark. Good question from our supporter Kyle Barr here. Where's William Dunn? We had a Alabama troll in our section on Wednesday night in the comments section saying, His prediction was Wisconsin 23, Ohio State 21. I am curious what he's doing right now. Probably gearing up for the big game against Arkansas tonight. So look out, the Crimson Tide. Appreciate everybody in the comment section. Like I mentioned, if I don't see you on YouTube, I'm sorry. I only got one device in front of me. I'm guessing we got the Perfect 10 Sports Show over there. Maybe Big C Got Game. Couple others on YouTube. But go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube page. I know I'm not giving a great sales pitch because I'm not watching the comments over there. Normally I got my guy Corey Boyd to help me out on that one. He is away from the home right now, so I am riding solo. Appreciate everybody with me right now. Chris Lyons, the supporter in here. Brian Schwelling, no freaking doubt. Laura BP, Chase Young for Heisman. I'm telling you, man. The Heisman Trophy Award is supposed to go to the best player in college football. It's Chase Young. And then there's a big gap, and then there's everybody else. I mean, is there a question? Who else is there right now that they're talking about? Jonathan Taylor just had, 40 yards? Brad Kerner got it. Mom got it for me. 20 carries, 53 yards. That's your Heisman winner for a 6-2 football team? I don't think so. I love Jonathan Taylor as much as the next guy. I respect the hell out of him. But when you come across a defense like the Buckeyes, who are going to shut him down, 20 carries for 52 yards? I mean, good God, man. He's averaging 2.5 yards per carry. He's getting nothing going. You could run him 4 times and you'd be lucky to make the first down. That's just how it went for Jonathan Taylor today. Because that was the whole game plan. Make Jack Cohn beat us. Because you know what? He's not going to. He's not good enough. And that's just what it comes down to. That's just the game plan Ohio State had. 20 for 52 for Taylor. How about J.K. Dobbins? 221 all-purpose yards. 2 touchdowns. Not only did J.K. Dobbins make the statement today that he's the best back in the Big Ten, he might be the best back in the country. Who's going to be better than him? Jonathan Taylor didn't show it today, didn't have it. DeAndre Swift in Georgia, he's pretty damn good. There's no doubt about it. He pretty much got bottled up 2 weeks ago against, South Carolina? Nice. Impressive stuff. I'm pretty sure that Georgia took Kentucky to the fourth quarter in a 3-3 ball game last week. J.K. Dobbins carried our offense, the Ohio State Buckeyes, on his back for 20-plus minutes to start this game today. Because Justin Fields didn't have it. And I don't know, let me know in the comment section what you think. Justin Fields, man, he is an incredibly talented player, and we've seen that a lot today. He broke out the spin move. He hit the B button about 3 or 4 times today. I was impressed. Even J.K. had to throw it on him. But Fields finally faced some adversity against a big-time team and a big-time defense, and he wasn't elite. And that's okay, because we've got elite everywhere else on the team. But I wasn't impressed with Justin Fields today. And I didn't come into this post-game show to talk bad about anybody, but that's how it was. I didn't think Fields looked very good today. He made some big plays. He took off when he needed to. He also holds the ball too long. He takes big hits. And he missed a lot of guys early. I don't know if it was the rain or what. Maybe he was amped up playing a big-time defense. But there were 2, 3, 4 throws outside to the sidelines on some out routes, and Fields just didn't have it. It was high. To be fair, some of his guys weren't making plays early on. KJ Hill dropped 2 balls in his hands. And if you watch this show, if you watch the Everything Buckeye Nation show a lot, you know KJ Hill is my guy. That is my guy. KJ Hill, I'll defend to the death. But he had a really poor performance today. He had 2 balls go right through his hands, and they were talking on the telecast, it's the gloves. Because the new gloves that these guys wear nowadays, when they get wet, it's extra slippery. And even Joel Klatt was saying before the game, he said, I talked to the coaching staff before the game, and they were saying, if it gets too wet, we're going to have them take the gloves off because it's too slippery. Well, I saw about 4 or 5 drops in the first quarter. I wanted to throw up. And they're still wearing those damn gloves. KJ Hill dropped 2 balls. It would have went for first downs. Instead, we're set back. 2nd and 10, 3rd and long. I don't know what was going on with Fields and the receivers early. But I tell you what, just throw to Chris Olave all day, every day. I mean, Chris Olave, is he the best receiver? He might be the best receiver on the team. He might be the best receiver in the Big Ten. Chris Olave, my dad was over here for the game, just kept calling him glue. Throw the ball to him. He's just going to catch the ball every time. He did drop a ball early in the first quarter, but guess what? It was high from Fields. Big shocker early on. Fields showed some toughness throughout the game, which I was happy to see because he hasn't really been put on his ass yet this year. And he did today. He took some serious shots. Threw for 2 touchdowns to guess who? Chris Olave. Scored again on himself on a keeper. Nice little read option. Great play. And he got hit hard and he fell pretty hard into the end zone. Looked like he tweaked his back a little bit. He was in the medical tent. So was Chris Olave for a little bit. Bye week comes at a great time. But boy, oh boy. This team is something else, man. I tell you what. There's just something about this team that is different from years past. Ryan Day knows it. Urban Meyer knows it. Did you see Urban Meyer before the game, during the game, post-game? Post-game, they had Urban Meyer standing next to Ryan Day, where the whole Fox Big Noon kickoff crew is talking to the head coach after the win. And Urban Meyer and Ryan Day are standing next to each other. They're laughing their asses off. Biggest smiles I've ever seen from these guys. Did you see that? So much happiness flew through me at that point. I mean, Ryan Day is the man. And Urban Meyer said today, he's like, the one goal you have as a coach is to leave a place better than how you found it and to hand it off to somebody who can take it to the next level. And me personally, I was like, can somebody take it to a higher level than Urban Meyer did? I mean, we're only 8 games into the Ryan Day era. I guess you can say 11 if you want to count the 3 wins last year, but I don't because Coach Meyer was still there for practice and still running practice. This is the Ryan Day era. And boy, it's a good one. Want to get to some comments here. Scott Ewing, appreciate you guys. He said, Fields was the Energizer Bunny, kept going. That's my quarterback. I was very happy to see Fields take some shots, come back in, keep fighting. And after he got dinged up, he had another spin play where he landed right on his back, right where he heard it initially, and he gets up real slow. He's cringing. He's wincing. Just give the ball to J.K. Dobbins, man. Okay, that's all you need to do. Chris Olave says, David Hempel says, Chris Olave, best receiver in the nation, my favorite player. Jimmy Wolfer, the rain was a factor for Fields. I thought he would have played a little bit better than he did, but there were a few drops early, which could have hurt his confidence. David Hempel says, we will be 10-0 going into the Penn State game. Yeah, I mean, we've got a bye week this week, comes at a great time, and then we host Maryland, coming off of a bye week, and against a team that gave us a scare last year. We'll take care of business, and then we're at Rutgers. Do I need to say anything else? No. Connie Wilson says, Taylor's no match for JK, and Chase Young is a beast. Charles Valentine, had a blast watching the game with my kids, Eliza and Trinity. For 5 and 7-year-olds, they love the Buckeyes. I was watching with my little brother Jack, who is 8. I tell you, man, it is fun to have little kids that age around who get into the game. And it's almost like they look around to see the reaction around them. And when we're fired up for something, they're fired up too. It is fun to watch, just breeding the next generation of Buckeye fans. You got to love to see it. Kevin Walker says Chase is a beast. Scott Ewing, 52 yards for the man that put up 200 every game. The Buckeye defense is nasty. And David Hemphill says Ryan Day is the only undefeated coach still. He knows how to change things immediately if things aren't going well. Amy Gutenstein says, great game, love Urban being there. It was cool to see Coach Meyer there in the house, in the horseshoe. He was happy to be there. Pre-game, he was pointing around, pointing at the 2014 National Championship sign up there. That's never leaving. The horseshoe's been around for 97 years, I believe, and it's not going anywhere, and that sign's not going anywhere until the end of time. And Urban's very proud of that. I'm proud of this team, man. I really am. They really had to fight through some adversity today. Give me your player of the game. Let me know. Obviously, Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins are going to be a common theme. And let me know if you have a favorite play. Do you have a favorite play? Let me know in the comments section. Appreciate that. Scott Ewing says, let's hope College Game Day will be in C-Bus for Penn State and Ohio State. 2 unbeaten, top 5 teams. Yeah, I mean, if Penn State's got a tough schedule. Okay, they just kicked off about half hour ago against Michigan State. I don't know how that game's going. Feel free to post a comment section or post it in the comment section what that score is. I think Penn State's going to have a little bit of a tough go, at least early on at Sparty. I've been in that stadium. Not fun to play in, especially in some gross weather. So Penn State's going to have a lot to deal with. And then not next weekend, but the following weekend, Penn State has to go to undefeated Minnesota. That's right. The Golden Gophers are unbeaten. And I can't remember who they played today. Maryland, maybe? I think they got Rutgers last week. Blew them out of the water. I think they have Maryland today. Either way, the Gophers should be unbeaten. And then they've got a bye week next week to prepare for number 5 Penn State. Undefeated clash in Minnesota. Good for them. I'm happy for them. And Minnesota might be the team we see on the other side of the conference in the conference title game. Because right now, Wisconsin's got 2 losses. Minnesota doesn't have any. All Minnesota has to do, all they have to do, as if it's easy to say, is finish the rest of their season with only 1 conference loss. They could have 2 conference losses as long as they beat Wisconsin in rivalry week in the last week of the season. But right now, Minnesota's got quite the edge, and they'll have Penn State coming to them in a couple weeks. But all signs point, you probably think Penn State goes in there and beats them. But Penn State's got to get through Sparty today. The 3:30 hour right now, I'm missing a lot of good football. I don't know if you guys are watching, have it on in the background. I appreciate everybody tuning in. But some good games on at 3:30 right now. I know LSU and Auburn are playing. Excited to watch that. And Penn State at Sparty. We'll see how Penn State comes back after an emotional win over the Wolverines last week. And then tonight at 7:30, the Wolverines host Notre Dame. This is the last time that is scheduled for the Wolverines and Notre Dame to play ever. It's not, they used to play fairly often, but there's no timetable set for a rematch. I think Notre Dame holds the all-time record 16-15 to 1 or 2 or something like that. The Wolverines could tie the series basically with a win tonight. And something's got to give because Jim Harbaugh is 1-10 against top 10 opponents in his career. And Brian Kelly's like 2-10 against top 10 opponents. Now the Wolverines are 19, but still, these coaches are somewhat underachievers. So something's got to give tonight. But all I know, the best thing about a noon game is that if you win, you get the whole rest of the day to celebrate, and who cares what happens in any other game. All I know is the Buckeyes are 8-0, and boy, did they look sharp. Whew. I mean, man. After a scoreless first quarter, I was a little worried. Conservative play calling. Fields threw 1 pass in the first quarter, and it came with 15 seconds left. And it was incomplete. It was like, you can't expect your quarterback to be in a rhythm if you've been playing ball for 15 minutes and he hasn't thrown a pass yet. I don't know. I felt like Jim Tressel was out there coaching for a little bit until we started to get some momentum rolling. Get to some comments here. Richard Flowers agrees Buckeyes versus Golden Gophers. Brian McGee and Tisha Smith say 7-0 Penn State. Appreciate that. Scott Ewing says row the damn boat. Rooting for the Gophers. And David Hempel says, just hoping Penn State can stay undefeated so it's a bigger game for Ohio State. I'm not sure how I feel. I mean, Ohio State needs to beat Penn State if they're going to go to the conference title game. That's what worries me. Because the past 2 seasons, Ohio State has lost really maybe 3 seasons now that I think about it. Ohio State has lost one conference game in the past 3 seasons, and we haven't gotten to the playoffs. Last year we did the last 2 years we've gotten into the Big Ten title game, but it wasn't enough to get us into the playoffs. In 2015, when we had the best team Ohio State's ever had, maybe, save for maybe this year, I don't know. A little early to say that maybe, but hey, I like the way we're trending. In 2015, we lose an embarrassing loss at home to Sparty, 17-14. Zeke only gets 12 carries in a pouring rain game. Are you kidding me? J.K. Dobbins had like 22 touches today. That's what you need from your write-it-out tailback. I don't know if you saw Zeke Elliott on Twitter, by the way, saying J.K. Dobbins for Heisman. J.K. for Heisman. Makes a good point. Chase Young might be stealing some votes from him. Both of those guys belong in New York City for the Heisman Trophy Award this year. But in 15, we lost one conference game. And because of the way it worked out with the tiebreaker, that team went to the conference title game. Same thing in 2016. We lose one conference game to Penn State. And with the tiebreakers, Penn State goes to the conference championship game. Now, we ended up getting in that year and getting smoked by Clemson. Everybody knows what happened there. But what I'm saying is, right now, if other teams lose, that's okay. We don't need an undefeated Penn State to come in. Like, Ohio State doesn't need that to happen for us to boost us up. Be nice, to beat a team of that caliber. Maybe go up to the 1 spot in the playoff rankings and get to pick where we go to in a bowl game in the semis. But if Penn State happens to lose today and then another time, I don't see us losing to Penn State or the Wolverines right now. There's still a little bit in the back of my head is a little bit of worry from the past 2 years. Meaning I'd be okay with some conference losses happening around us. We're not going to lose to Maryland. We're not going to lose to Rutgers. We're going to be 10-0 on November 23rd when Penn State comes to town. And whether they're 10-0, 9-1, 8-2, whatever, it's going to be a huge game, and the Buckeyes need to win it. And there's no looking ahead to the Wolverines the following week because Penn State is the real deal, especially on defense. Especially on defense. Their offense pretty good. KJ Hamler is a beast at wide receiver. Have to shut him down. I'm happy about this Buckeyes team, man. I got to think you guys are too. Appreciate everybody in the comments. A good comment from Tisha Smith said, how about jump around? At the 7:30 mark of the fourth quarter, after Dobbins' second touchdown, I believe, they started playing jump around. And if you follow college football, you know that is the Wisconsin tradition. That's basically Wisconsin's script Ohio. All right? They play jump around going into the fourth quarter of every game. And Camp Randall seems like there's an earthquake or the whole place is coming down. It is a sight to behold if you're not familiar. A little bit of a nice trolling effort there by the Buckeye staff. Hey, what are they going to do? You don't want us to play jump around? Don't let us score 38 points on you. Illinois, and we got to give credit to Illinois because after Illinois beat the Badgers last week with that last second field goal, and they all rushed the field, Illinois played jump around over the loudspeakers. People were going crazy. That's what makes college football the best sport in all of sports. Don't give me the NFL. Don't give me that. College football, leaps and bounds better than the NFL because of stuff like this. Little pettiness here or there. Illinois upsets Wisconsin. You don't see that in the NFL. They're all professionals. They're all getting paid multi-millions of dollars. That's great. Good for them. I love watching the NFL. I think the flags are a bit too much in the league as well. Don't see as much of that in the college game. And anybody can win on any given Saturday. That's just my opinion. But maybe we'll get to that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever we do the Everything Buckeye Nation show this weekend. Brian Timothy Waugh says, emotional roller coaster early. I was hurling expletives left and right. Glad the Bucs found their groove. I tell you, man, I was with you. I was right there. Very concerned early on. What's there to be concerned about? The Buckeyes are 8-0. They're number 3 in the country. We'll see about after tonight because number 2 and number 1 still have to play. And if they don't look so hot, hey, maybe the Buckeyes jump up in the polls. One thing of note is the first college football playoff rankings come out, I believe, on the 5th of November. Let me check my calendar here. Yeah, Tuesday, November 5th is when the first playoff rankings come out. So we're done before then because we've got a bye week next Saturday, the 2nd, and then the first rankings come out on the 5th. LSU and Bama also have a bye week next week. So if chalk rolls tonight, Bama wins, LSU beats number 9 Auburn. I don't think Auburn's that good. I don't think they're worth the number 9 spot, especially with that true freshman quarterback Bo Nix. He's pretty good. He'll be really good in a few years, a couple years, I should say, but they're not the number 9 team in the country. SEC bias, if you've heard that before. But that being said, we could go into the first playoff rankings with Ohio State could be 1. We look pretty damn good. If LSU wins today, they'll probably be number 1 because that'll be 3 teams that they've beaten that were ranked in the top 10 when they've played them. And that's fine. Put LSU at number 1. Put Bama at 2. I'll be interested to see where they put Clemson at because they don't look very good, but they're still unbeaten and the defending champs. Oklahoma lost today, which means Penn State jumps up to number 5. Bama, LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State. Pretty good 5 right there. And I don't think Penn State belongs in that category. And I'm not sure that Clemson belongs in that category right now either. Bama is all dependent on Tua. Same with Ohio State. If Justin Fields goes down like he did earlier, a little bit worrisome, but bye week comes at a great time. Then we've got Maryland. We shouldn't have to play our starters in the second half. Then we've got Rutgers. Shouldn't have to play our starters in the second half. Maybe not. Maybe just the first quarter, knowing Rutgers. Then you've got sledgehammers against Penn State and the Wolverines. Time to get healthy. That's all we're asking for is go into those games healthy. And who knows what can happen from there. It's a magical season. I appreciate everybody jumping in here today. I'm going to sign off. I'll let you know when we are coming out with the Everything Buckeye Nation show. Probably, we've been doing Wednesdays of late. That's been working. It might be Wednesday. Producer G might be off on Thursday. We might be able to work him in. And then we'll figure it out. I'll let you know. I'll put out a supporters video maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. But I'll let you know. David Hempel says the Buckeyes should be number 1. He said they will be number 1 in the first playoff rankings. Connie Wilson says Auburn's up 3-0. Tisha says, I thought the officiating was actually good today. They were a non-issue. Totally agree with that. David Hempel says Chase Young will be number 1 pick in the draft. And I think, here's the way I'm putting it, is he's going to be the first non-quarterback taken. Because we all know, especially like at the end of the season, we know who should go number 1. Last year, Nick Bosa should have gone number 1. Could have been Dwayne Haskins. Everybody knows they love their quarterbacks. And then, I mean, the Cardinals were going to take Nick Bosa number 1 until they fired their head coach and brought in Cliff Kingsbury, who wants their guy, and Kyler Murray's doing fine for them. Good for them. But we all know quarterbacks aren't worth that number 1 spot, but they're going to be moved up. So Chase Young, without a doubt, first non-quarterback taken. Could be number 1 anyway. We'll see. Brian McGee agrees college football is where it's at. And Scott thinks that if LSU wins today, they'll be number 1. Ohio State needs to be number 2. I don't want to play LSU in the semis. All right? I would be very happy I'd be very content with a LSU 1, Ohio State 2, and then what? Maybe Clemson 3. Who are you going to put at 4? Maybe Bama at 3, Clemson at 4. I don't think the problem is with Oklahoma losing today, that opens the door for a second SEC team to get in, and that's just, nobody wants that, all right? Maybe Oregon runs the table. Their first loss was to Auburn in week 1 on a last-second touchdown. And if they run roughshed through the Pac-12, which is a garbage conference in my opinion, but if they're finished 12-1, really impressive, who says they shouldn't get a shot? Because they won their conference. Don't give me an 11-1 Alabama or an 11-1 LSU that didn't win their conference in the playoff. That's garbage. I don't want to hear that. I'm tired of that. We've got time. And we've got 2 weeks until the Buckeyes play again to enjoy this 8-0 feeling, 38-7. Whew. Go Bucks, baby. Appreciate you guys. Scott Ewing says, I want Clemson in the Final Four more than anything. I tell you what, I would love to play Clemson. Would love to play Clemson. Get them back. I'm not saying we're going to beat them 31-0, but I would like to take down the Tigers. I'd like our shot at the Tigers. That's going to do it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, we'll be back live with the full Everything Buckeye Nation show with Corey Boyd, producer G, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something along those lines. I will let you know. But until then, go Bucks and OH. I-O